You're also experienced on a podcast. What are you saying?
Yeah. No. I have no trouble. I feel like people though are probably have better, cooler stories than whatever I have. But
No.
Everybody.
All right. Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Neal Begovich. Neal played Division I basketball at both Stanford and Duke while pursuing degrees in economics and business. After 4 years at Stanford, he transferred to Duke, where he balanced business school with one of the most storied programs in college basketball, helping the Blue Devils reach the Final Four. Neal became one of the team's most respected leaders, earning the nickname Uncle from his younger teammates for the leadership, experience, and perspective he brought to the locker room. After Fuqua at Duke, Neal began his career in the Golden State Warriors NBA front office and then moved into sports investing at Pursuit Sports based in Boston. We'll talk about leadership, learning from the greats like Coach K and John Shire, finding purpose beyond the court, and what it's like to transition from being a student athlete to building a career in professional sports. So Neal, thank you for joining us today. To start us off, who are you, what do you do, and why do you do what you do in your own words? And we always start with the hardest, biggest
I was
question.
gonna say that's really tough. Who am I? I say I'm a family man. First of all, I'm the youngest of three brothers. Grew up with my father passed away when I was young, so we grew up with a single parent household. But I think the way that my brothers and family stayed so close, and the way I was raised by my mom, I think is like the foundation of who I am and who I'll hopefully continue to become. And so I think that's kind of the foundation for everything. Is my family and faith was a big thing that was instilled in the way I was raised in my childhood, and that's kind of set me on my ways. What do I do now? I guess I said you gave me a great intro that probably gave you more credit than I deserve. But right now I work for a sports investment firm. I'm really fascinated by the business side of sports. I think like you both, I really love sports, and it's always been a passion of mine. I think when I was young and went through tragedy, I feel like it was a kind of thing that helped me save myself and gave me something to pour a lot of my time and effort into. And so it's always been a lifelong passion. And, throughout college and business school, I feel like I really enjoyed business as well. So I feel like I've been lucky enough to find a profession where I can marry the two. And, after playing collegiate sports, I wasn't ready to give it up entirely. So I will have some sort of sports still as part of my everyday. I'm very grateful for it. I feel very blessed to be in the position I am and have the experiences that I've had, and just trying to make the most of it.
That's awesome. That's a great way to kick it off. We're really excited to talk to you. I think what we like to start it off with kind of like the beginning. And you mentioned how like your faith, your family, the tragedy of it, of losing your father at a young age has played like a role in kind of who you are. Can you just tell us a little bit about like the kid that you were growing up, like your personality?
Yeah.
You're obviously active and played sports.
Sure. I feel like I was lucky. I feel like I had an amazing childhood. My brothers were all 2 years apart, so we were all very close. And I can just remember like us playing one-on-one in the front yard as kids, and it would always either end in a fist fight or someone crying no matter what. But like those are some of the most fun memories I have. I was probably like the mischievous, sly, like youngest. I was able to get away with more stuff being the youngest sibling, which was great. But yeah, very active. I remember going from one sports practice to the next. Like I'd go to class and, be done with school at 3:00, whatever. And then I'd go to basketball practice right afterwards. And I remember like my grandma would take me from basketball practice then to baseball. And it was like every day was like 2 sports a day. And it's like hard to get in trouble but a great way to do things. I think my mom like made us play individual sports, cause we all went team sports. I loved basketball, baseball, stuff like that when I was growing up, but she made us play tennis and golf. It was like just, no matter what, if I wanted to do other stuff, I had to go like hit golf balls once a week or play tennis once a week. Cause it was like, these are great lifelong sports for the rest of your life that you can play like beyond college, as well as, there's something for like the mental fortitude of being like in a sport by yourself. Oh, felt like I struck a good balance between that, but no, I feel like I had an amazing childhood, but yeah, activity was at the heart of everything for sure.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that idea of like having the individual sports and a team sports, because there is, to your mom's point, there's so much to like learn and so many lessons to gain from both. So
I feel like team sports are like incredibly important for anyone, but I feel like because I was in a big family and I had brothers and was like all in on team sports, and I
yeah,
feel like it was like over indexing the other way of like you probably need some stuff by yourself.
yeah.
So
I
I
love
think I recommend both. I think for a lot of people, it's like their kids want them to play team sports to be able to be part of something bigger than yourself, which I think is like vital. But
yeah,
luckily, I think didn't have a shortage of that when I was growing up. Yeah.
yeah. And it's lucky to have your brothers to kind of have that team behind you always.
Absolutely.
When did you know that you wanted to kind of focus on basketball and you wanted to pursue it more seriously?
Yeah. It's kind of a cool story. The last night that I ever spent with my father was actually at a Stanford basketball game, and I was there with my middle brother. So, and my dad played basketball at Cal. And so it was like after that happened, it's kind of my brother and I's lifelong dream that we were gonna like play college basketball together, hopefully at Stanford, which ended up happening. I'll get that in a second. We try and live on like the legacy of our father and make him proud. And so it's kind of gonna be that way no matter what. But after that, it was like a 100% the I knew it was what I loved and what I wanted to do and pursue. Yeah. So I always enjoyed other sports, but basketball was just a different love for me from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously like a formative event in your life, but I think it's pretty easy to like I don't know, feel sorry for yourself is the right word, but think of what ifs. But I also can look on the other side and feel like I probably matured at a younger age and was able to like overcome adversity and dig into who I was at a younger age than most people. And so I think it's been a massive benefit. Like it's obviously a tremendous tragedy, but I feel like I've used that as motivation or used it as a way to like make my life better in other ways that like wouldn't have been if I was, lived a more normal childhood. So um obviously wouldn't wish on anyone in the world, but I tried my best to like make the most of it. Yeah. So I think I definitely am the person I am today because of that. I think going back to faith, like I think everything happens for a reason and you can't doubt, why certain things happen or don't happen to you. And there's always a silver lining to everything. And so being able to like dive into sports and dive into family faith and be able to overcome something difficult early on in life, I feel like has created the character and values as to who I am today, which I was lucky to have that at a young age because I know people that are still searching for those things. And while I don't have any idea what it is I want to do in life for in the long term, like I feel like I have a better understanding of what's important to me and my values and character. And I think that's an important baseline. Was able to kind of derive that from my childhood, which I at least am grateful for.
I feel like that's something I noticed about you too, Neal. You have like a very good head on your shoulders, not just because you're way older than the other players at Duke, but also I think your mom had like a huge influence too on you. And I think she sounds like a pretty incredible woman, even to think about that sports at such a young age. I'm starting to get into golf a little bit now, but I still don't have the patience. But one thing I actually, even though I already knew you, I read up a little bit on you before this. One thing you did say once was that you never wanted to be the oldest or smartest person in the room. You just wanted to be challenged. Where
Mhm.
where do you think that mindset came from?
I mean, probably my mom a little bit would be my guess, but also like the fact that I was the youngest of other siblings, like I'd always hang out with my brother's friends and stuff. I was like always around older people. But I think it's also, I think both of you two do a great job of this of like always trying to challenge yourself. And so like I always wanted to be somewhere where like I don't really know what's going on. And I feel like I'm behind and people are more advanced in their career, what it is they're doing. Is I feel like if you're surrounded by that as the baseline, then your own baseline is going to like eventually get to that level. And so I always, throughout college, either it was classes or internships, business school, the same thing. Like I always wanted to be doing stuff that like people my age haven't done really, because I feel like it's all about, in my opinion, I think I'm at a stage of life where I'm just trying to learn and grow and experience as much as possible and soak everything up. And so the more I'm around stuff that is above my head and new to me, like the faster I'm going to accelerate that process. And I heard a quote the other day. It was like, no human beings ever like reach their full potential. It's just like impossible. And so it's like, there's so much that we can learn and grow from and try and become. And so like, I feel like I've always, and even now, I really, really feel like that desire to try and, I don't know, be as good as I possibly could be like my mom, and people sacrifice so much to me to be in the position I am and have the experience that I've had. And so I feel like I would be doing not only them, but also myself a disservice to not trying push push my limits as much as possible.
And what happens on those days when you do like maybe come home from work and you're like, what the heck am I doing? Like I'm way in over my head. Like what do you fall back on? Because I know that's an experience a lot of people.
Yeah, I would say actually something that I two things. One is like I think I'm like in certain days you can feel really overwhelmed, but I think if you stick to, maybe this is cliche, like your process of like I'm gonna work really hard and do the right things over time, like I feel like you can catch up to speed much faster. Like I think when I was younger, there's people that were better than me at sports or smarter than me or whatever, and not to say it's a competition of trying to catch up, but like you see that if you just stack and compound great days of approaching things the right way, like over time you can go really, really far. And so try not to be bogged down in one bad day or um, one thing. Also, I think emotions are great, not saying not to be emotional, but I think like the feeling of disappointment, I think can like affect people. But I think I've in my experiences, I think disappointment's like an incredibly fleeting feeling. Can feel really intense in the moment, but it doesn't actually like endure. And so I think trying to like separate yourself from like what's going on in the current moment to seeing the bigger picture is an important part of keeping yourself like committed to moving forward, no matter if you have a great day or a bad day. I try and pride myself on being pretty even keeled because I think like in the long run that allows you to be more successful.
Yeah. And that definitely comes from sports, like whether it's a practice or games. Like I remember feelings of games when it was felt like the worst week of my life and nothing was going to change after losing championships.
Absolutely. I think it's actually a cool part about being in Duke is like Duke basketball specifically is like, if we lose a game, it's like we're the worst thing ever. Everyone's pissed, which is like there's a high standard, which is great. But also like we are in incredible moments where we're playing great games and we win something, and it's like you guys are the best thing ever, right? And so like if you get tied up in like this highs and lows, I think that's not a great place to be. So I think Coach Shire, I was very impressed, even though he was a young coach. Like he was incredibly poised in those ups and downs of like he was the same and very steady every single day. And so I feel lucky that like in my athletic career to be able to see something like that. And that led us to be successful. And that's led Shire to be incredible in his first 4 years as head coach. And so something that I've tried to embody, but it's hard to say without experiencing it in some way. And so I feel like I'm grateful that Duke taught me that lesson.
No, that's a great point. Because honestly, you guys were treated like celebrities on campus. Like every
Me
time.
me less than everybody else. Let's make that clear.
You in the Fuqua building, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we definitely like seen like you putting yourself in challenging situations, going from Stanford to Duke, and then now like in a sports investing role. But another thing we want to talk about was just your transition from Stanford to Duke. So you had a different role in those two teams. And like, I think it's valuable for people to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, but at
So
the
I think
team, one of the
go
most
ahead.
respected leaders, I was going to say, at Duke, and everyone looked up to you.
I don't know about that. But thank you. I would say, I think it's important, like when I actually left Stanford to begin with. So I had 2 years eligibility left because I redshirted my freshman year in COVID. And so I really was focused on like thinking the bigger picture. Like I wanted to see if I get my MBA somewhere and like if I wanted to play for 2 more years, like let's see if I could go to business school at the same time. At that current moment, I didn't really know like how feasible it would be. And so I couldn't. Stanford GSB basically was like you have to have work experience. Wasn't possible. So I didn't really think it was going to happen. And then when I entered the transfer portal, a couple weeks later, all of a sudden I had this option to go to Duke. And well, obviously I knew I wasn't going to play as much or be super important on the court. I tried to see the bigger picture of a couple things. One being like Fuqua was an awesome school that like I heard great things about. And so being able to get my MBAs, like I think trying to delay like short-term gratification of like I could have gone somewhere and played more and scored more points and stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that. But like having a Fuqua degree while being able to do it at the same time, I think is like, I'm sure 20 years later, I would look back and be like grateful that I used that time to do what I did. Even now, like I'm like so grateful I did. I think I've seen other people, not that there's anything wrong with it, that go somewhere and they play right away and they played and had a good time. And it's like now they're trying to figure out what's next in their year afterwards. And like I feel like Fuqua did such a good job of preparing me and giving me the perspective of what it is I want to do next. So I'd say that was important. And then also it's like a chance to be part of Duke basketball. I mean, a program that have followed my entire life. And I really, like I was saying when I was young, I love being a part of teams and something bigger than yourself, and to be like kind of the pinnacle of collegiate athletics amongst a team of people that's going to go on and do. I mean, I don't know, when I have 8 or 9 guys from that team I played on my last year, like in the NBA, to be able to be a part of something and a small part of everyone's journey and some of the experiences and environments that we got to be a part of, I think you can't get anywhere else. I think it's hard not to feel like you go be the man or play more somewhere else. But when I try to look at it from a longer term perspective, all of the experiences and all that it would bring me in the rest of my life, I actually don't think it was that close of comparison when it all came down to it.
Yeah. So you're saying you knew like when you're making the decision, it wasn't a shock when you got there necessarily?
Yeah, which is, I think the coach did a good job of like explaining. You even wanted someone to be a older leader on a team full of a bunch of young guys. They're a different pedigree of player than I was, which I fully understood. Also helpful, like I was older, like I understand like my limitations as a player, but I also knew where I could add value, and it seemed like I would at least get a chance to like try and be influential part of the team in some way, which ended up being much greater than I ever thought it would be. I feel like I was lucky to have incredible people around me and incredible experience as part of the team. But yeah, I knew that's what I was getting into. Yeah, I wasn't sitting there thinking I was going to take Cooper Flagg's minutes. Yeah, no, it was pretty obvious.
It's nice for the coaches to make that clear in your head.
Yeah, of course. No conversation was needed.
I know Maggie mentioned this too before, but she said that the younger teammates would call you uncle. What do you think that it was that they saw in you?
I think probably the fact that they were all like 18 and I was like 23. Besides that, I don't know. I think I was lucky enough to know in some capacity or another a bunch of the guys, because I think, Duke's a different level maybe than Stanford. Also similar schools in terms of like the pools that they recruit from, these kids that care about both academics and athletics. So I knew some of them, like Kon Knueppel's first ever college visit. Like I hosted him on with his brother when he was at Stanford. When I ended up going to Duke, like I knew we already had a relationship. So, I don't know. I just think they obviously have much, they have incredible careers, all those guys, much further than I went. But I think they understood that I had their best interest at heart and was trying to help them and trying to use some of my experiences and what I've seen to hopefully make them and the team better. Yeah, I don't know. Also, there wasn't really many other old guys, so it was like I was the uncle, nobody else. So.
Yeah. Very. And what did you learn from kind of being the mentor to them? What did that experience kind of give you?
Well, I feel like I gained way more than they did. I mean, they're like, "Oh, you're off doing incredible things," and I feel like I'm lucky enough to like have those experiences and relationship with these guys that are going to go on and do incredible things in basketball. But also, they're all great people, which I commend them for. But I actually thought it was the biggest thing is like I think a lot of places, not even just in sports, some people that are highly touted or incredible at what they do, like it's quite easy for people to like disregard advice or like genuine relationships and think like you have it all figured out. But I think what made some of my teammates so special is like they were eager to learn and to get better and to develop like real friendships and get to know people on a deeper level. And I think those are like incredible traits, both as for sports, but also in life. And so it's something like they're much bigger people than I am. So for them to like take the time to really like care about myself as well and what I wanted to help them with. I think it's something that's like a great trait that, hopefully one day I can do great things and remember that like it's great to treat people in a certain way and can always be learning no matter what circumstance you're in.
Yeah. And do you think that dynamic, like that team dynamic was kind of from each individual player, or do you think that was something that Coach K and John Shire kind of instilled in the team or kind of values that they kind of imposed on the team?
I would say maybe it's a cop-out answer, but I would say it's both. I think there's a certain type of person and family that like Duke and Coach K and John Shire have wanted to recruit. So they want to recruit people that are like thinking bigger than themselves, want to be great teammates and want to win and want to be a part of Duke, which is something bigger than just one individual person. So I think that's like there's a prerequisite of like the type of person that they want involved with the program. Then also I think it's also a testament to like every individual kid in their family, like the way they were raised, the way they carry themselves. Yeah, like I think we're very, very lucky to have some incredible characters on our team. So I think it's both. Like I think they're intentionally looking for those types of people, but also you got to give credit to like all of my teammates who lived it out and embodied it every single day at the same time.
That's awesome. And it's so special, like to your point, like you have these teammates that you're creating memories with, you're learning from, but it's also like it's lifelong. It's like people that you can watch succeed over a lifetime, you can go to for support. So I think
For
that's
sure.
really cool. And you mentioned that John Shire was like an incredibly poised person. Was there anything else about John or Coach K that kind of influenced who you are today?
I'd say Coach K first. I'd say I was like just every time he speaks, his incredibly articulate and his storytelling, I think is second to none. So like he can talk about anything and like you'll walk away feeling like you want to run through a brick wall, like you're so motivated. And so I think the biggest thing I learned from him was like I think it's really easy, especially when you're young, that you want to like solve every single problem every single day and trying to figure everything out. And I think he has such a great perspective on maybe it's more beneficial to like focus on one or two main things. Whenever we would walk away from when he would talk to us as a team, like I could tell you it was like that's the one lesson he wanted to get across, and like it becomes ingrained in you, and I think that's what really motivates you when you understand what it is like you want to walk away with. I think this is a great lesson like in people in speaking and trying to tell a story or trying to be a leader in anything you're doing. Can the people walk away knowing what it is a priority and know like how to tangibly get there? And so I think he does an incredible job of that, which I think is an important perspective for a young person when you might be trying to like be so bogged down in 100 things at once. It's like we can be great at one or two things this week and then one or two new things the next week. Like over time, I think you'll achieve a lot more than trying to solve every problem every single day. So I'd say that's what I think. And that is also like stories I'd heard of Coach K too, I mean, as well. And then I think Shire, as a young head coach, I think two things. One, I think his competitive nature is like second to none, how badly he wants to win. I think he can't fake that. And I think that's like a big separator for him. And then his attention to detail and how prepared he is for everything. Again, as a younger person, like he was taking on such a huge job with lots of expectations and has like far exceeded all that. And I think a big part of it is he's been prepared for everything. Like he thinks of, I can't even tell you like stuff, everything matters. No matter what time we're working out on a summer Tuesday, like could influence something down the line. So I think that attention to detail and preparedness, I think no matter what you do, is super important, especially if you're someone younger that's trying to like get into something where you don't have the experience. If you're always can be the most prepared, I think that's going to help level the playing field.
Did they have any sayings too? Like anything you said in huddles also?
Yeah, so a big thing was, I believe it was a Japanese term, kaizen was what we used a lot the 2 years I was there, which is basically like continuous improvement. I think something that we talked about, I think a little bit through my first year and then some major focus in the second year was, yes, we have like lofty goals at the end of the year. We want to win a national championship and win the ACC and whatnot. But it's like, if we're focused on that, I think you can take away from like all the stuff in the interim, and Kaizen is like here and now, how are you going to get better today? And like, that's all that matters. Like if we're only going to get to that end goal by like continuously improving. I think that was one thing. And then another thing as well was we had a mental skills coach, Russ Roush. She was amazing. And he spent a ton of time with us. And the idea was focusing on the 98%, which I think was like amazing, especially for the type of players that we had in our team. Was like, he broke it down to us one day. It was like, if you're the leading scorer in the NBA, you score 30 points a game. It's like, how many shots are you taking on average? It's like 15, 17 shots a game. It's like, how long does it take to take 17 shots in a game? And he like broke it down. Basically, like the best scorers in the world are only actually scoring 2% of the in total games. So he's like, the other 98%, and you can't control whether or not you make or miss shots, but the other 98% is like your effort, your energy, how hard you're playing, how you're communicating, and all those are like controllable. And so our whole thing was like, this is my second year, was like focusing on if we can be the best, like the 98% and control what we can control. That's super, super important. And I think we did an unbelievable job of that. And I think that's a great like life lesson as well, of just like controlling what you can, and other stuff is, may seem big to you, but it's actually like pretty small in the grand scheme of things, the things are outside of your control. And so, especially with having players that were like used to being the best scorer, the best player from their state or city or in high school, coming and be like, instead of focusing on what you have in the past, like, can you pour all your effort, energy into the 98% and be great at that? And that will actually like collectively rise the tide of the entire team, and we'll be better off as a result. So I think those were like the two main things that we spent a lot of time on, which I think were great.
Yeah, totally. And why do our brains do that? Our brains always focus on the 2%, like laser
For sure.
almost, and ignore everything else that's going on.
Absolutely. I wish we did, but that's why it's hard. That's why it's a separator, you know?
Yeah. Also, going back to the younger players, did you feel like when you were older and they had that experience coming in right away, would they listen to you? Like, were they receptive? How did you instill that advice to them?
They were extremely receptive, probably more than I thought. And it also wasn't like my intention. I wasn't like trying to go in there like purposely teach
Right.
people, like that wasn't but I think it's kind of how the relationship developed. A lot of it too had to be like, a lot of these guys were extremely curious. So they're coming in, they have no idea like how a college basketball season even works, like the length of it and how our summer practices go. And so a lot of it would be like them just like wanting advice on and asking how certain things go. And I think like that's kind of how it started. Because I think it's really important, like to understand when you're in high school, obviously these guys are playing at incredibly high levels. Just college is different in terms of how the practices are ran, like what coach is looking for, like the level of intent and detail on everything from like dummy offense to the way we do drills. I had the benefit of having gone through that before for 4 or 5 years, and they haven't ever been part of that. So like you naturally become like the one to go to in terms of how does this be done? What's the standard? How do we try and embody that? So I think it was more kind of fell into it of like having done it before and then wanting to learn and being curious about all those sorts of things. So I'd say that's probably how it naturally happened.
How would you weigh talent versus discipline for a successful player in college basketball?
So I think all these players, like there's a prerequisite level of talent you have to be on like the upper echelon of basketball players to be able to play at like Power 5 level in college. But then beyond that, I think it's like a total separate. I think like your mental edge, your discipline, the way you approach the game, I think is something I'm sure now when you're playing basketball in college as well, is like playing hard is a skill. And like if it wasn't, everyone would do it. But I think that was a real separator. So I think, yeah, like once you get to the top levels of any sport, like the differences are so small, but I think discipline, mentality, how you approach the game are major separators, because it becomes like major is like so small, but it makes the world of a difference.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. It's like a different type of skill.
Absolutely.
Now we want to get a little bit into your life now beyond sports. So obviously we talked about you spent most of your life identifying as an athlete. So what has it been like letting go of that identity? I know you had a little transition period being uncle on the team.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like so when I worked for the Warriors, I was obviously like playing a little bit. Like I would help out on the court. I have not played basketball like for fun one time. So it's been over a year and a couple 15, 16 months yet. Maybe it's like a coping mechanism, but I feel like I'm very much like a 0 or a 100 guy, and so I feel like I gave it my all when I was doing it, and, like, I feel like if I step out there now, I would stink and be, like, already not nearly as what I was, and so it's, like, cheating myself. Now I'm trying to pour 100% into, like, my career, what I'm doing now, which I don't know if that's healthy or good, but, I really, really enjoy what I'm doing now.
Wait, can I interrupt too? Like, what do you enjoy
Yeah.
about what you're doing now?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is there's so much to learn and so much I don't know and that I enjoy doing, and so I feel like it's kinda like that feeling like when you're trying to get better at your sport, like, there's a lot of similarities of, like, just every day, the process of, like, trying to get better. Like, I feel like I come into the office every day and I'm trying to learn and grow and get better, and I think that's, like, an intoxicating feeling when you can see yourself, like, how what I did not know 3, 4 months ago and how much I know now. I think progress and getting better is, like, that's what something that, like, I really am driven by, and so I think that's one thing I really enjoy. Also, like, we're involved with I spend all day, like, working on sports teams and sports deals, so, like, I'm still involved in it in a certain capacity. We spent a lot of time on European football, which I liked a lot when I was younger, but, like, didn't fully follow, so it's, like, a whole new realm, like, sport that I'm, like, discovering, and I've really, really enjoyed that as well. What else? I also think, something I was reflecting on earlier, actually yesterday, was, like, I feel like when we're playing college sports, it's yes, we, like, all 3 of us did a great job of seeing the bigger picture of, like, life beyond college and what we wanna do in preparing ourselves for that. But I think you're still so much in the here and now, but when you, like, actually get in the working world, you start to have perspective on things that, like, you never thought about before of, like, what do I wanna do with my career? Where do I wanna live? How do I wanna spend my time, both on work or with friends, family relationships? Like, you have to start answering these really big picture questions that I feel like you just don't think about when you're in college, or if people do, they were much more mature and smarter than I was. And so I think those are like, it's like daunting and scary, but awesome things to like think about like the rest of your life and how you wanna, what you wanna pursue and how you wanna get there. And then the other thing is, I think what I've really enjoyed is I loved, like, I would never trade my college basketball career for anything, but there's certain levels of commitment and like your schedule is so planned out. Like I could tell you every single day and like every day of the year of what it's gonna look like, and that was awesome. But now it's like I was home for Christmas for the first time in like 10 years, right? Like
Yeah.
I could do all these things. Like I can go somewhere on a weekend if my work's not too crazy. Like I can, there's so much more out there to like experience. Um, and so I feel like that's like exciting. Like I think it's definitely hard to not be out there competing every single day and playing basketball for a living or whatever. But there's a lot of great stuff on the other side of it that I've really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, it's like your world is kinda opened up. And sometimes it's hard to
Absolutely.
think about all those choices when you're just starting a career and you're focused, but you also care about the other parts of your life.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no one's controlling you anymore.
That's for sure.
So, to that point though, like, when you're playing college sports, your coach, it's clearly you either win or you lose, and you can measure your success like that. How has your definition of success changed from sports, but also from when you were younger?
Yeah. So I think like you mentioned, sports is like the most instantaneous, like you know how you did either won or lost the game, a drill or something else. Like I think it's hard, right? Like I spent, you know, start of this year 4 months, 3, 4 months, like all day, every day on a deal that like fell through.
Mm.
And it's like if the deal had happened, it'd be like you would get all this external validation of like people only see the headlines of what would happen. But then I was thinking about it as like that's outside of my control to a certain degree. But like I feel like I learned just as much if we got it or didn't get it. Like nothing changes in what happened, what I learned. So trying to focus just on like, again, it sounds cliche, but like your learning and your approach to every single day, like that's, you can, you know, sleep at night knowing like I had a great day or I did. And it might not be as instantaneous of like we scored more points than the other team, but I think you can, if you can have enough self reflection and know whether or not you like approached things the right way, I think that's should be your own internal scorecard.
You're a lifelong learner. That's what my mom calls me. Sounds like
Yeah,
just like
trying to be.
yeah. Let's see, Kayla, what do we want to talk about next? I think we could go to
Yep.
uh,
Or just one thing we were gonna say is just like, I mean, you sound like somebody who is able to kind of navigate through transition or navigate through the hard things and kind of see the positive in them. But is there obviously like these transitioning times in life are tough for people in different ways?
Mhm.
Is there anything that you're like experiencing right now that you're like, geez, this is harder than I thought it was gonna be, and like that you're trying to kind of navigate and figure out on your own?
I think everything. I think everything's harder than you think when you're actually in it. I'm not gonna try and pretend like I have it all figured out. I would say it's balance. I think everyone, like, I think it's something interesting when you go to people for advice, like, everyone has their own, I think the word used in school, interpretive location of, like, their perspective on things. So everyone's gonna have biased advice to a certain degree, but also like everyone's created their certain life, hopefully on their terms and how they want to do it, how they want to spend their time, what they want to do for work, where they want to live, all those sort of things. Like I think now, not everyone, I think I'm very lucky to have the privilege to be able to choose hopefully some of those things, but I think it's difficult like trying to answer all those questions because something has to give, right? Like if I want to like be super, super ambitious in my career, I'm going to have probably less time to spend with friends or family. I'm moving jobs or same job and I'm moving locations. So like I'm giving up set of people, friends, experiences in a certain place to go somewhere else because I'm like waiting that my career right now, maybe more so than other stuff. But I think I'm sure eventually that will change. And so I think you start to realize that all of the decisions you make have, I don't know if consequences might be like a little bit of an exaggeration of a word, but impact things in a certain way. And that's like not super easy to deal with, right? Like if I decide to move somewhere else, like right now I'm further away from my family, which is like a negative, but also I think I'm in the best place for my learning and for my career, which is a positive. So it's like you can't, no matter what, you can't have everything at the same time, but you have to ideally have everything that's important to you at that current moment. But that is very difficult to like be at peace with and make those decisions and hopefully make those things come true because I might want something right now, but you might not be able to have it or figure it out. And so I think those decisions are always hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's a great answer. And I think Maggie and I talk about balance all the time. And like, I think to your point, like balance can look like one way for one thing for one person. It could look different for the other. And it could be your boss that sees it one way, but you have to kind of hold strong on your own kind of idea of balance and what you value and what you want to prioritize in your own life.
Absolutely. But I do think it's important too to like to kind of not have a plan. Everything shouldn't be planned out, but at least be prepared for like what it is you want in the future. Because I think if you're just like running on the hamster wheel with no thing in sight, then it can be like, why am I like? I think you have to have a purpose. So like now I'm over indexing on trying to learn, and like I feel like I always say I'm like living life on the run right now, which is like awesome, but like that's probably not sustainable forever. But I know that like I know that's like a phase. But I think like I want to experience a ton right now and dive all in. But I know that like I'm gonna eventually that will change, which is important. Because I think if you're just doing something just to do it and you don't see the bigger picture, I think that's how you can like, put your head up and look back and it's been 10 years and you're like, I haven't created what I want to set out to. So
Totally. I think that's such a great point. And is there like anything that you do as an individual to kind of hone in on kind of what it is that you want and what you want to prioritize and kind of as things shift in your life, how to reprioritize, or is it something that you kind of just think through in your head as life goes?
I think that's a great question. I feel like I probably should be more intentional about it, but I do think I'm always like pondering those questions in the back of my head. But no, I think I should probably be better about like setting specific times or like thread a calendar in the year where you like want to look back and have some self-reflection on what's important. I think the biggest driver of it now is for me is when I try and like learn a ton from like I try and consume a ton of information. I mean, that's like a weird way to put it, but like like people that I think are doing great things. Like I try and like ask as many questions or watch as many podcasts about people. People think it's weird sometimes. Like I always love people asking me about like, when do you go to bed and like how much do you sleep for? Like what's your morning like? It's like kind of a random question, but I think it's like almost endearing. Someone I like and what they're doing, I always ask that because it's like, how do you spend your time? And so I think I probably now get it a lot from like trying to learn from other people and what they do, just to like try and get as much information as possible. But I should probably be more intentional about reflecting on how I do it myself more. But yeah,
Well, I think from an outsider, it sounds like you're doing something right. So
I don't
gotta do what works for you. But if you could go back and tell your sophomore year self at Stanford something, what would you tell them?
probably just enjoy it. Like I feel like you're gonna be on the best ride of your life and better than you ever would have thought. You can never get those times or experiences back and just double down. I felt like I did a great job of being in the present when I was there, but I would probably tell myself do an even better job of it. I think college and college athletics was some of the coolest, most fun times. You're living with your best friends, like traveling around, playing a game at the end of the day. Like that's so awesome when you really look back at it. And so, yeah, probably just double down on what got you there and then enjoy the ride.
And fast forward, I guess, to when you're older, when people look back on your life years from now, what do you hope that they remember you for?
Jeez, deep questions, guys. These are great.
With or on?
One, I think like a reality in life is like I feel like you should get away from thinking like people will remember you. Like I think in the grand scheme of things, very few people are going to be remembered, and to a certain degree, on a broader scale. But I think you can be remembered for is like not. I love the quote of like people don't remember what you said; they remember how you made them feel. So I think that's super important. Like I think your relationships are super super important with your family, friends, and so I hope at the end of the day, it's like I was able to have somewhat of an impact, but like on the people around me by the way that I treated them or um, the way I was close to my family. I think those things can endure more than like someone's reputation or what accolades you had. Literally saw a video last night. Someone was like, "Do you remember who the 20th richest person in the world was in like 2022 or whatever?" And it's like, no. They asked the question. It's like exactly, but probably that person they were like so worried about like who was 19th above them, right? It's like in the grand scheme of things, like none of that matters at all, right? But do you think that people's family and their relationship and their friends like will remember how you treated them and the experiences you had together? Like absolutely. And so I think it's like trying to index on that is what actually will endure more than I don't know stuff that's not actually substantive.
Yeah. And we'll throw in a lighter question now too, and we'll ask you because you ask other people, what does a day in the life look like for you now?
So I've realized I'm very big on like having time in the morning. So I feel like I don't know if it's the same for you guys. When I was playing college sports, I feel like I slept a lot just because your body needs it. Now I'm not do like I'm working out a couple times a week, but it's much different. So I feel like I can sleep. I sleep probably 6.5, 7 hours now. When I was sleeping like 9 in college, I get up at like 5:45 every morning, and then I've been gym at 6:30 there till like 7:45. Gym's pretty far away, so I was like takes me like 15 minutes to go back and forth walking, and then cook breakfast and go to work. But I feel like having that. I don't know what it is by the time I get in the office, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Like I have 2.5 hours to like myself, which I think is super important because the rest of the day, like you have no idea what's gonna happen. It's like not in your control. Kind of going back to it, but like I know if I can get up, move, have some time to read and listen to podcasts and news or something like that. Like I think and work out. Like I think the rest of your day is off to a good start. So try and get decent sleep and get up and move. But it definitely is like an adjustment for sure to what you're used to when it's like everything your workout and your schedule is like totally regimented in college now. It's up to you.
Yeah. I think that time is so valuable. I feel like I've been getting better at that, like rather than just rolling into the day. I used to roll over even if I was up early and be on my devices, but I'm
Yeah,
like, it's like the one protected time. If you get up early, even if everyone else is up early, it's kind of like don't bother anybody else.
absolutely.
Very
For
valuable.
sure. And I feel like sometimes like wish I could sleep more, but when you do and you like roll right into work and it's like you don't feel the same that having even if you slept less, I feel like you like end up feeling way better by taking care of yourself.
What about do you have like consistent end to your workday, or is it really hard to tell?
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's part of it too, is like you're at kind of the mercy of working the rest of the day. So
Right.
which is great. I love it. But like I can't like sit there and be like, I have that time at the end of the day to do X, Y, Z. So
Right. Yeah.
you can't count on it. Yeah,
So you're learning. It's the phase of life.
absolutely.
In your routine.
You want to wrap us up?
All right. So we ask everyone are like the same 5 questions to close out the conversation. So you might have just hit on it, but we'll start with what's one habit that keeps you grounded?
Yeah, I'd say probably like faith or like prayer or just working out. Like you can always count on that.
Is there a certain time of the day that you pray or
Before bed, and then yeah, working out in the mornings for sure.
yeah, it's a good routine. I like that. And then what's one thing you'd protect no matter how busy life gets?
Probably calling family, call my mom, call my brothers. Like no matter what, I feel like you gotta check in with your people. Probably don't do it enough. No one does.
Great one. And what's one lesson failure has taught you?
I'm probably gonna say the stuff I get said earlier, but I think like disappointment is very a fleeting feeling. And like there's always the next thing will happen sooner than you think and like you can learn from the failure and grow. So yeah, you can't like not dwelling on it. That's what I would say.
So true. And what's one person that has shaped your life? Who is one person?
I would probably say all my family. That's a bad answer, but all my family members, like my brothers, my mom, and my dad, but all of us like having shared experience together. I
Yeah.
feel like brought us very close together because no one else has like gone through it as same we have. So I think we've all shaped each other's life in a big way.
Yeah. All right. And our final is what's one belief you try to live by?
Oh man, my middle brother is bigger on this than me, so I'll give him the credit. But it's like don't quit. Are always like that's has been our family, my dad's motto. It's our thing. It's just like don't quit no matter what.
I love it. That was
Well
great.
done.
This
Thank you,
is so
Neil.
good. This is so awesome.
No, thank you guys. You guys' questions are unbelievable.
They're like rapid fire. Sometimes I feel bad for our
No,
guests.
this is great.
Again.
This is great.
And
Very wise and
do you have
very
one final one? Who would you nominate next to share their story on?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this one for a second. Who would have a really good story? Did
Maybe
someone nominate me, by the way, or no? Is that or you just
no,
know?
I just
Okay.
yeah, I started this trail. But you can do like maybe someone you could be older, like someone you look up to, or someone similar to our age.
Okay, so there's a guy that I used to work for in Dallas, and I'm working with him on a thing right now named Jim Wilkinson. He's amazing. He's a big like a big brother mentor to me. and he's got awesome stories, amazing guy. So I think you guys would really enjoy speaking to him.